Hi, my name is Jeremy Tallman, and I serve as Principal Broker for T&H Realty Services. We're a full-service property management company serving the greater Indianapolis area. Today I want to talk about collecting late rent. And before I talk about ways in which are effective in collecting late rent, I would first off think that most late rent can be avoided altogether with proper tenant screening. So any applicant that you're reviewing and considering to move into one of your properties needs to be thoroughly screened. So for example, if you confirm with their current landlord they've paid their rent to that landlord on time every month, then generally speaking they will pay you on time each month. And of course you need to make sure their credit score, that they are responsible in paying their debt obligations, and that their wage verification comes back to show that the ratios show a good ability to pay rent on time each month. So screening is critical. However, life happens and tenants' lives change. They could be sickness, they could have unexpected expenses. So it's important that you have things set up to ensure that you're collecting that late rent effectively. First, it starts with your lease. Your lease must have defined due dates and then when the rent is considered late. So for example, you may say rent is due on the 1st, considered late on the 6th. So you provide like a 5-day window, a grace period. And then there needs to be penalties in place, late fees, when that rent is not paid. I would also say that you should have a initial penalty, say that if rent is not paid by the 5th, and on the 6th there'll be a $25 late fee assessed. But then also have daily penalties as well. I think it's a mistake to have just a penalty and then no daily fines, because a tenant has real no motivation if that initial penalty is assessed to pay you very quickly. So I like the daily rates. I think it makes sense. I think you'll get your rent paid more quickly in that way. So basically when those things have been established and your tenant pays late, or your tenant has not paid and it's past due date, then you got to have also some kind of written internal procedures on how you plan to collect that rent. And that would be, so if it's on the 6th, using my example, on the 6th you would make a phone call to the tenant, or send a written correspondence to the tenant that asking for the rent to be paid. When you talk to that tenant, it's critical to get a promise to pay date and the amount that they can pay, and then document that. And then if they don't fulfill that, or if you can't reach them, then most states will require, prior to any eviction being filed, that you send a pay or quit notice. And generally those are posted at the door to say, obviously you've not paid your rent for this month. We're giving you 3 days or 5 days or 7 days, whatever your state requires, to pay the rent. And that needs to be done before an eviction is filed. Generally, through those efforts, most times the tenant will pay. But if they don't pay and there's no response from the tenant, then eviction is inevitable. And if you do have to go to that stage, I would highly recommend hiring an attorney for that. Attorneys, honestly, real estate attorneys are not overly expensive. They know the right papers to file, and they know how to file them, and they're a huge asset to you in this. This is something that time is of the essence when you're going through an eviction. You don't want to have a false start or file a paper incorrectly, which will cause further delay and will end up costing you money. So I highly recommend hiring an attorney and having the eviction take place, and then getting someone in there that can start paying rent again. Again, this is Jeremy Tallman with T&H Realty Services. Please feel free to contact us with any questions whatsoever, and thanks for listening.